is the presidential misdemeanors or demeanors that basically...
Stop calling it misdemeanors.
We're going to talk about how we thought Trump and Biden sort of acted, some of the best lines they had, their rhetoric, how they presented themselves. Let's start off, though, with the winner of the night, Christopher Wallace. Let's talk about Wallace.
They're not inviting that guy back.
Yeah. So I think people have given a lot of flack because I don't know how moderators could have handled it differently. David, do you think, he just wasn't assertive enough? Because I think he was assertive.
Well, here's the thing. So, Chris Wallace, what's today? Let's see. Today is the 30th, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that is what it says right here on my calendar. Chris Wallace is easily the most memed person on September 30th, 2020.
That is a fact.
The number of people that are just either putting images of like I saw one that was the true moderator that we needed last night, and it was a picture of Samuel L. Jackson.
That was funny.
There was memes calling him a kindergarten teacher that are just he's trying to manage them like a bunch of petulant kids, and I'm just yes, I do agree it is tough to manage those two people, but you've got to think that you've been training for this, right? You got to think that you have to you're ready and up to the challenge, and he just objectively was not.
So what did you want him to do then?
I don't know, but
you wanted him to
anything but that.
Because when you're fighting with Trump, I think anyone would have been fighting. Trump was the problem. Let's agree to that. I mean, Biden interrupted a couple times, but it was mainly Trump.
Yeah.
And Wallace couldn't control him. I don't know who else could control him.
I don't know either. So the question of whether or not he is a comparatively better moderator than any alternative, it doesn't matter to people though.
Because when we think about moderator, we think about someone who asks tough questions and doesn't let the point slip away, gives them the time to talk, and digs deeper.
Because
maybe you could dig deeper.
You have to remember, Chris Wallace was also he's done this before.
Yeah,
he was chosen.
Been in politics for years.
He was chosen because he did a great job in the past.
Yeah.
I
think it was just Trump being so crazy with his interruptions.
But this was his off night, and
all right. Well, let's talk about some good lines then.
Okay.
So I am the Democratic Party. What did you think when you heard that?
I was like, oh, this is interesting. He was they were talking about Trump brought up a line about how the Democratic Party had put out a platform that was different from the one that Joe Biden had said that he was affirming, and then Biden was like, I am the Democratic Party.
Yeah, that was very Batman sort of just
I was like, ooh.
Because when he said that, I was like, oh, he can actually make sentences, because that was in the first couple minutes, and he's ready. I really didn't think he was going to be, because I've just seen too much evidence of him stumbling over his words.
Yeah, but I mean, the line itself was good, but it was I don't know if it was...
It appealed to moderates, for sure, not the radicals.
Yeah, I mean, the radicals just oh my God, he thinks that he's in control,
which he is.
When
he says, I am the Democratic Party, what I thought at that moment was oh, he's basically saying, Trump, I'm here, and I'm coming for you. But it was also kind of corny in my head, because I'm bro, that's why Trump had a good rebuttal. He was well, if Elizabeth Warren, he didn't call her that, obviously, but if Elizabeth
just call her what he called her. He said, if Pocahontas, continue your point.
If she didn't drop out at strategic moments and Pete Buttigieg and all that stuff, then Biden might not have been the candidate, right? It was very strategic how the Democratic Party got out of the
Trump also did say you beat, what did he call him? What was the nickname he gave for Bernie?
I don't even know.
Was it socialist Bernie?
He said something about socialists.
It's Sleepy Biden, Pocahontas.
The point is,
he was
Trump had a rebuttal.
He was you beat Bernie by very few, because Trump was like, well, what about Bernie supporters? Bernie supporters don't support you. And he was like, I beat Bernie. And they're on my
side. And that didn't come off cool to me, bro. It's yeah, I guess you beat Bernie, but it just didn't feel like you deserved to beat Bernie. I guess maybe this is the Generation Z in me talking or whatever, but it didn't.
You're liberal, you're radical.
It didn't feel authentic, man. But anyway, I thought it was a good line. Yeah, I'm a Democratic Party.
I am the Democratic Party.
I am. It sounds like the intro to a movie where there's
yeah.
I've done more in 47 months than you've done in 47 years. I thought that was fucking amazing.
That was great.
That was phenomenal.
That's a very random number, but then at the same time, it's not. It's
right.
It's an interesting way for the numbers to line up. It's
right.
It has been 47 months. He has been here for 47 years. That's the kind of thing you couldn't write, but you also had to write.
And I think Biden's needs to have been in 47 months you screwed up more than I screwed up. I don't know how you would finish that I've done or something, but he had to flip that line because that line.
He was just no, you haven't. But I don't know. I feel like that's too.
Trump has the beneficial of recency bias, right?
Mm-hmm.
He actually has done stuff that we know about. Biden, we don't know. He probably has done a lot more, Biden. But
Yeah, I mean, like, the other thing is that he's done. You have done stuff in 47 months as the president of the United States. Biden's never been the president of the United States. He's been the vice president. But if you also, if that's the debate that you're going to have, and you give all of Obama's like credentials to Biden, then Biden arguably has done more than you have in 47 months. But like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I feel like it's like one of those things where it's like, one, comparing apples to oranges, and two, it's just like, you need to be more offensive and be like, the things that you have done are bad.
Right.
You've had 47 months that have been highlighted by X,
by
Y,
tax
and Z.
cuts, by 200,000 people dying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other lines that you have?
Yeah, I mean, early on, Biden comes up with the shade. We've obviously talked about the "Would you shut up, man" line. There was an interesting line with the double entendre, where Chris Wallace is like, hold on, Mr. Trump, let him finish, and then Biden's like, Trump doesn't know how to let somebody finish. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, that's an interesting line.
Yeah,
because I was like, you're right, because he interrupts, but also, I wonder what Trump's wife has to say about that. But
yo, imagine if Biden came with that fire.
It's like, you don't know how to let somebody finish. I was like, whoa, what did that mean? I was like, I'll assume it was just about
but
that
the thing is, Trump would not be beneath pulling that same line against him.
Absolutely. Remember when Trump was talking about
his hands, right? Like, if Biden was like, he won't let anybody finish, especially his wife. Oh my God! Imagine.
You can't say that.
No, but why not?
You can't say that.
Why not? That shit. I would have said that. I wouldn't have given a fuck. Why not? That's the most hilarious shit ever.
I mean, it is, but like, my mind went there, and I was immediately, my first thought was, I probably shouldn't run for president yet. Granted, I wasn't born here, so that's not gonna happen. But
they might change the law. Yo, Ted Cruz wasn't born here either. He was trying to, like, it's weird, bro.
But yeah, that don't know how to let somebody finish line. I was like, that's interesting. Another line that came up is like, Trump's a liar. We all know that, which was like, it was fine. And then there was one that was like about things that Trump gives. Trump was talking about how much of a giving president he was, and he was like, look, Trump sends us wishful thinking, and that's about it. And I was like, okay, all these lines are,
they don't hit though.
I was like, they're relatively shady, but they don't like they don't slap.
They don't slap.
But
they don't slap like when you were 5 years old
I
and
hate
you did some shit in front of your mom. They don't slap.
I hate you so much. I knew something was coming. I was like, at this point, I'm kind of
something was coming, and it wasn't Trump's wife. Like, that's for sure.
Stop. I immediately regret saying this.
I want to talk about his son.
Oh wait,
because I think there is some.
Boom. Let's talk about this.
Donald
Trump.
Yeah, go ahead.
I made the Mayweather line. I think Donald Trump, the most apt comparison at that moment, was a judo specialist. And let me explain.
Okay.
Part of how judo operates is that it's about controlling motion, no wasted motion, using your opponent's motion against you, redirection, of like movement, etc., which is why like hip tosses and stuff are so important, because you like lock up.
Damn, you know a lot about this shit.
Yeah, I like martial arts. I like watching people fight. Okay. So it's a strange thing to get used to, but like, if it wasn't the UFC and WWE, would not be like that great.
Right.
But part of what like I was surprised about was like, that was Biden's moment, right? Because it was about how like Trump had called I'd call like military veterans, like people that were wounded or killed in battle, losers and suckers.
Yep.
And that was his moment. He was like, my son, who was killed in battle, was not a loser. He was not a loser. He was not a sucker. You can't call him a loser or a sucker. I don't know. Some Bo. Was he killed or anything?
I'm not sure if he was killed in battle, but the point is he served a lot.
Right, he served, and he was not. Yeah, actually, you're right.
I don't think he was killed, but the point is he served.
Yeah, he served a lot, and he was not a loser, not a sucker. He was like, oh, your son? You mean your son that was on drugs, that got dishonorably discharged? And
that was bad, bro. That was bad.
I've never caught myself doing this before during a debate. Like, I was literally clutched. I was like, oh, he did not. He's like, your son that was on crack.
Son was a crackhead. That's the one he's on. Like, that shit is. And I didn't even know that.
And Biden was like, no, not that one. I was talking about the other one.
No, honestly, when I saw Biden have to respond to that and talk about like addiction's a big problem, I genuinely felt sad for Biden.
Yeah.
I don't usually feel sad. I was like, wow, this is just a poor old man trying to like talk about the problems his son went through, and Trump just has this evil. It's like, I don't give a fuck about your problems.
But here's the thing about that. Like, this is the thing that kills me. So I was watching the CNN coverage, right? Actually, it was the MSNBC coverage right after the debate, because I watched the debate on MSNBC, right? There were 3 headlines that came on. It was like, Trump aggressively interrupts, Trump Biden debate full of personal attacks, etc. And then there was like one more thing that was like, Trump does another messed up thing, right? So I got it. But here's the thing. I've always thought about politics as being something that is cutthroat, brutal. Like, we even talked about it here. I remember one of my like cold opens in terms of like one of these debates was that like political campaigns have never ever been like soft. They've never been for the faint of heart. We had a political campaign where Thomas Jefferson called his opponent a hermaphrodite.
Really?
Yeah. The election of 1800, Thomas Jefferson was like, John Adams is a sex addicted hermaphrodite. There was one election where somebody called out somebody's mother and was like, your mother's a prostitute. That was election campaign strategy. It's like, who wants to elect the son of a prostitute? Was the election campaign. It was an election where one campaign was like, one was like, who is this? Who is my opponent? Like these elections have never ever been like soft. And it's like, once you introduce something to the political, it becomes fair game to attack. Right? That's why like the Republicans, when I remember somebody made a claim about like Barron Trump, like Trump's youngest son, and he was like, well, knowing Trump, you might want to make that, or he might want to make that kid a baron, which is like a title of nobility in monarchies.
Yes.
And then they were like, how dare you talk about the president's son? Don't introduce a 10-year-old to this, because the political eats people alive, right? The premise was that if you introduce something to the political, it becomes worth consuming, and that any damage that happens to it is fair game in the political.
Right.
Well, Biden introduced that concept of his son into the political. He was like, my family is in the political now.
Yes.
And Trump was like, so I can attack your family? And he immediately went for it. And I was like, oh, that moment just got flipped. Like, what was supposed to be the standout moment became the moment of pity.
Do you think Trump looked bad for saying that he was on drugs?
No, I don't know. It's strategic. Because it's
definitely strategic. I just felt like I felt empathy at that moment.
Right. I felt empathy because I'm just like, bro, you should I know how difficult that struggle can be, not personally, but like I know people that have gone through that struggle.
Yeah.
But like I'm more like sad knowing about like it's the fact that it was addiction to a drug that makes me feel sorry. But it has nothing to do with the fact that that kid
politically
was attacked, because you initially introduced him as I don't want to say political prop, that's reductionist and not fair to Biden at all, but you introduced him into the debate as a subject to be discussed. And he didn't even say Bo. He didn't use the name. He said, my son. So you introduced your family into the debate. Somebody then said, okay, that's fine. Now, here's the moment that Biden could have used. I was actually talking to my dad about this. And my dad and I are like we argue a lot about the political. But like I was like, you're right about this. Because he was just like, the best thing for Biden to say at that point would have been, at least my son tried to serve. When it was your opportunity.
Yo, your dad said that?
Yeah, when it was your opportunity, you dodged the entire draft, and none of your kids have tried to serve. Yes, my son went through a problem. He went through an addiction problem, as many people in the military do. But at least my son tried because he cares about the country.
And it would have been a low blow.
Right.
But it would have been a good low blow.
And it point me to the lie.
Yeah.
And it would have redirected the point of this initially, which is that Trump doesn't care about the military. That was the point he was trying to make.
That was the point. See, this is the thing. The connections of the rebuttals have to go back to the premises that bring up the character attacks on Trump from a Biden perspective. But he's never able to finish the loop.
Right.
And that's just because I don't think he's that good of a debater, but like the opportunities are there.
Now keep in mind, these are the thoughts of some regular African father who literally cannot, by U.S. law, run for the presidency. Yeah. But he made a point that would have changed the outlook of that debate. I guarantee you, if that had been said in the moment, at least my son tried to serve, it would have changed the way we perceive that moment. And it's like, it's kind of like judo. It's like every once in a while you'll lose your footing, but it's possible for you to gain it back. You can get back in position to strike and win. Yeah. But Biden just did not get back in position. And it's like, and that claim is not that hard.
And then let's talk about the Hunter stuff, the 3 million stuff. So I don't even know if this is true, but I don't know if it's conspiracy or not, but I do think Biden didn't disavow it. Like when Trump kept saying, why did China give you 3 million? Why did he get 180?
Biden was just like, my son did nothing wrong.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're not answering. Like Trump was like, did he get 3 million? And then Biden like choked up on his words and was like, no, that's not true. And I'm like, okay, that's not convincing. Like he obviously got some money for whatever reason. Maybe it's not 3 million, and he wasn't ready to say why. I don't know if this points to corruption. I don't really care because the people in the Trump campaign are ridiculously corrupt. His Ivanka, the Goya brand, like all of the money they're building from this stuff. But the fact that Trump is able to redirect it, and Biden, I think at one point mentioned, look at all the people in your family, but he didn't, again, hit it hard enough.
Yeah.
He didn't mention Goya.
Look, I really do think the point of this is just like Biden is trying to play, he's trying to play respectability politics. This is a message to Joe Biden. Joe, he's talking about your family. Like, he really is talking about your family, talking about your legacy. Like, you need to say more. You need to do more. Like, and that's not this coming from somebody that I'm pretty sure I'm gonna vote for Joe Biden.
I'm voting for Biden.
I'm not like, I can analyze objectively and say Joe Biden lost the debate and say I'm still voting for Joe Biden because I can compartmentalize that the debate is not just about.
Which is kind of why these debates are just theater, because if you've already decided by now.
Right. I kind of want to talk about that in a sec. But at that point, I'm just like, this has nothing to do with me as a voter. It has nothing to do with me as like a citizen. It has everything to do with me as a man, and I think that you should care as well. You're talking about your family, Joe.